They started picking, each man leading his young wife of choice towards his tent and tin shack. I watched my friends get dragged away, and I could hardly pity them because I knew my turn was coming. It reached the turn of the bearded man, and he glanced at me, his eyes briefly going through others, but still coming to rest on me. He pointed at me, but I refused to move, trembling on my knees. The girl next to me, Aishat, stood up, thinking she was the one he pointed to. As she walked towards him, he shouted, saying it was I he wanted, but the chief leader didn't allow room for replacement, and he took Aishat away angrily. It felt like a heavy load was lifted off my chest, though I was still scared of who I would end with. Soon it got to the guy who fed me bread and tea, and like I expected, he picked me. We headed into his tent, and it was the typical things I expected to find: a mat on the floor, a local stool, some bags, and a lantern. I sat there patiently, but he simply walked out, and a few minutes later brought me food. I was subconsciously planning my escape. Even though I knew nothing about the environment, I remained calm in the tent. That night, when he returned back into the tent, he told me he knew I wanted to escape because everyone who was brought there wanted to, and he said it would take a lot of blood for me to escape. He also said he wouldn't touch me, but only if I wanted to, and I nodded in understanding. Days turned into a week, and a week became 3 weeks, and I began to wonder if we were ever going to get rescued. Everywhere I moved in the camp, it felt like eyes were watching me. Even going out at night was more terrifying than staying indoors because of the dangerous traps and animals whispered about in the camp. My peers were already giving up on the idea of leaving their new habitat anytime soon, but my will to escape wasn't broken. After a month, I got closer with my bandit husband, whose name was Karim, and got to know about all the other bandits in the camp. I knew the times they would go on raids, and the time they would return. I knew who commanded who, and a glimpse of how they operated, and I started making my plan. I knew I would need an AK-47 for safety and protection, and a roadmap idea for my escape, but I knew it wouldn't be that easy. I was able to lay my hands on an idle AK-47 during my frequent visits to the bandits, and was able to hide it safely without detection. The next resource I needed was the roadmap or road idea. I playfully asked my bandit husband, Karim, on many occasions if I could follow them on raids, but he always said the chief would never allow it. After a month, in the camp, I had known the ins and outs of the camp system and discovered weaknesses and resources I could use. Some of the bandits took hard substances before raids, but the chief leader of the camp was clean. Before any raid, he prays for them, and he was considered the pure and good one as their head. I got close to the wives, who cooked his meals, and started coming up with my brilliant plan to escape. When the bandits were preparing for a raid, I would sneak a hard substance into the chief's food, and when the chief begins to distract everyone, I would escape and hope for the best. That was my brilliant idea, and I knew, deep down, it would work. All this while, my bandit husband never touched me, even while some of my peers were already looking pregnant. All I knew was I had to wait for the right opportunity and take it. Then the day I always prayed for came. That day, they had not prepared the chief's food early, and because of my closeness to the women at his kitchen and his wives, they gave me an opportunity to help them in the kitchen. After they were done, miraculously they told me to carry the food into his tent. This was the opportunity I had continued and always prayed for, and it was simply handed to me. The bandits were planning a raid that evening, and the majority of them were already gathered. I put the hard substance in his food and served it to him hot and nice. It would take 1 more hour before the bandits assembled, so I knew I needed to improvise and make things move quickly. I waited for when he was done eating. Then I went to inform the whole bandit assembly that one of the chief's wives had been caught cheating with another man. They all ran angrily towards the chief's tent, telling the chief to bring out his sinful adulterous wife, and the chief came out confused and asked what was going on. As the panic and confusion continued, that was when the substance started to work and hit the chief hard. The chief started blabbing out nonsense words out of his mouth and asked that the wife who was caught to be brought out. And his men asked him which of his wives it was, and it was there that the real commotion started. I took the opportunity when everyone was distracted and dug out the AK-47 I had hid and shoes I had brought in and headed into the bushes.